Right, let's go over this nutrition for performance because we need to sort of rewire how people view nutrition if you want to perform well in Hyrox. Now, if you've ever gone through a fat loss phase, you've probably heard the definition calorie deficit. Calorie deficit's not always going to be the best thing when it comes down to our training because by definition, our body is in a deficit of energy, which means the body's not going to perform as well as it could if you were around that calorie maintenance stroke, a low calorie surplus. So it's really important when we get you ready for your high rocks that we've sort of taken a phased approach where 6 weeks out or so, we're not worrying too much about that number on the scale, and we're really focusing on improving as much performance as we can. And we're going to be going over in this is how we can get the most from your training with your nutrition. Because I tell you what, the training is the hard bit. The training is the bit where sometimes, we have to dig deep and get ourselves there. And it's so important that what we do inside of the kitchen is there to complement what we're doing inside of the gym. Because we're sort of going in half-assed, if you will. We're not going to our full potential if we do not focus on nutrition. And this is where we're going to be going over everything that we need when it comes down to um, fueling your body for performance. So let's go over the difference. Obviously, we've got fat loss here, and then we've got performance there. Sorry, I've just lost myself on my screen. So yeah, fat loss here, performance there. Whilst on paper they might sound a little bit similar, they're not. We have to treat food differently. When we're just focusing on fat loss, we're literally just looking at it is how can we drop body fat? So let's go into a deficit. Let's try to, cut back on food. However, when we start looking at food as fuel, food is going to help your performance. We need to make sure that we're having the right types of food. We need to make sure that we're having the right amounts of food and that we're fueling our body properly because it's not just the performance in the session that we will lose out on. If we don't fuel your body properly, we're going to increase the risk of injury. We're going to decrease the quality of your sleep. We're going to make you feel a little bit more hangry. We're going to make your sessions harder. But ultimately, we're going to limit your results. And that's not why you're here. You're here to get the best possible results as we can. So that's the difference between fat loss and performance. When we're talking about performance, we want to really focus on fueling our body properly. When we're looking on fat loss, all that matters is a caloric deficit. Now, it's so important that when we're going into the gym, when we start our training, we're really focusing on our meal timings. I do not want you guys realistically training fasted, especially when we've got like a cardio session, especially when, we've got elements of strength or like a Hyrox session. Because what's going to happen, our limiting factor, if we're training fasted, will probably come down to something more of the lines on our muscles getting empty of energy than necessarily how hard we can push ourselves. And I fully appreciate because I'm one of those people as well. I train first thing in the morning. So I am not waking up any earlier than I have to have a full breakfast. So what we need to do is find a way that we can get your body fueled for the session ahead and it's not going to sort of negatively impact your session because you feel bloated, because you feel full, because you feel like, it's jiggling inside of your stomach. So within about half an hour of training, and that's one of the most important windows when it comes down to fueling your body, we want to have simple carbs. Now, the beautiful thing about looking at our body for performance rather than fat loss, simple carbs, a good example is sugar. So what I love right now is I have a crumpet with a little bit of butter and a bit of honey as well. It's very light. It's relatively, high-ish in calories to get me the energy for my session, but it's not too high in calories where I'm moving away from the goals because yes, we want to focus on performance. We don't really want to be in too much of a calorie deficit. Obviously, if you do still want to lose some body fat, that's fantastic, but we sort of want to reduce the calorie deficit rather than being, on 800 calories a day. We want to be 200 to 300 calories underneath your maintenance. But going back to my original point, it's small enough where it's not going to sort of take me away from my goals. It's big enough where I'm going to be fueled properly, but it's not going to sort of negatively impact that session because it's going to sit in my stomach. So something like, crumpets, toast, muffins, those things work really, really well. Now, if you have a slightly longer session, if you have, a 90-minute long run, Then we can also start looking at things like a bag of sweets, or if you're Australian, you call it a bag of lollies. Now, this is not me giving you permission to go through and have 10 packs a day, but having, half a pack of sweets a day, not a day, sorry, before a long session can positively benefit that session because it means that we're going into that session properly fueled. We're going into that session where the body shouldn't break down because you've ran out of energy. And I love gels, and I'm going to do more education around gels, explaining why they're so important, why they're so good. But they're essentially sugar. They're essentially quick energy. They're essentially like having a bag of sweets. It's going to give you that quick bit of energy. And you notice this a lot when you look at endurance athletes, when you look at marathon runners. They are doing a gel sometimes every 5 kilometers, which I was listening to a podcast with a 2 hour, 17-minute marathon runner. So he's probably having, a gel every 15 minutes, which is a lot when you think about the amount of sugar that they're taking on, but they're keeping their body fueled for that performance. But when we get closer to race day, we'll go over a gel strategy for you, and I'll explain all of that in more detail. We don't need to go over that now. But that's why it's so important on what we focus on when it comes down to our meal timing. Then obviously, post training, we still want to get some carbs and we want to replenish the glycogen. Glycogen, glucose, sugar. Sugar equals carbs. So basically, we want to replenish the carbs. Now, when we're replenishing carbs, we're not just looking at eating a bag of sweets like we might do before we train. We're looking at something with a little bit more substance, a little bit more nutritional value rather than a bag of sweets. In this app, there's a whole recipe section for you to go through. So feel free to double check that out. There's a lot of recipes there. And if you have any questions around that, please feel free to drop me a message. I'm not the biggest fan of just giving blanket statements, blanket bits of advice saying, cool, after training, you need to go eat 100 grams of rice. I want to make sure it's personalized down to you. So if you have questions around this, drop me a message and we'll make sure that I give you the right advice for you as an individual. So carbs, why are carbs so important? Carbs, yes, cool. Carbs are really important for one simple reason. It is your body's fuel source. Carbs, and you will see, the carnivore crew, the keto crew saying carbs are non-essential. Yes, they are, but your body likes carbs. Your body performs better with carbs. There's a reason why, Olympic athletes use carbs. Right now, the Commonwealth Games we're having carbs for longer events. Do you mean carbs are good? In fact, actually, let me go into a screen share. Bam, bam, bam. Let's go into Chrome. Let's do that there so we look a little bit more advanced. Bam. Here, there we go. Let's go into England rugby team chef post-game meals. Oh, perfect. Here we go. So the thing why I like this England rugby chef right now, he's doing a lot of content about how he's feeding the England rugby team. Now, when you're feeding, a professional team, he's not worried about fads. He's not worried about, the carnivore crew, the keto crew, the carb cycle, whatever crew you want to talk about. He's just purely there to make sure that the England rugby team, when they play, they are performing at their very best. That they're not under fueling their body, that they're not at risk of injury. So they really look at optimal ways to fuel your body. So, with that being said,
This is how I feed the entire team each day. It all starts early. I'm in the kitchen at 5 a.m. for a quick briefing with the kitchen crew. Breakfast is always the first big push. We prep plenty of fresh fruit, vegetables, and fish, but our most popular offering in the morning is the live omelette station. Each day, we get everything ready, chopping fresh ingredients to fuel the team. We go through around 150 eggs each morning for the omelettes alone. By the end of a busy breakfast shift, I've made around 50 omelettes for both staff and players. Porridge is also a firm favourite at breakfast time. We go through around 3 kilos of oats every morning. While the lads head up to the gym for the first part of their training, we move straight on to preparing for our mid-morning refuel. We have sweet chili chicken wraps, banana bread, rocky roads, and mushroom soup. Everything is freshly made and delivered straight to the training hub so the players can eat as soon as they finish their gym set.
and that sort of like shows you in a way how important post-training nutrition is as well. They have nutrition near enough ready to go straight after their training session. And you notice there was things like rocky roads as well, chocolate, unhealthy foods per se. But when you're training for performance, when you're training to get your body functioning as well as possible, there's nothing wrong with the right amount of sweets within your diet. And again, this is where it's important we find that, good balance between the two. Because I'm not saying do it every single day, but I'm saying it does have a place in your diet.
40 grams, multi-grade baked goods, and around 6 liters of soup. This keeps the players fueled and ready for the main session. While they train, it's back to the kitchen for lunch prep. Today's main event for lunch is a chicken and bacon club sandwich station, alongside some soy and sesame salmon, some roasted veg, and stir-fried rice. For this lunch service, we'll cook close to 15 kilos of chicken breast and 10 kilograms of fish. While lunch is cooking, we're also getting ahead on dinner prep. I head down to the bakery to check on the flatbreads for tonight's dinner. Back upstairs, we start by milling our potatoes for items on tonight's buffet, beef pie and mash. We'll use around 12 kilos of potatoes and approximately 12 kilos of diced beef. The beef is simmered in a brat pan for around 4 hours with fresh herbs, vegetables, and stock.
At this point, I genuinely wish I was a professional rugby player. Imagine having these meals cooked for you day in, day out.
Up, time to switch gears back to our lunch service. We need to plate up, dress the dishes, and deliver the food to the team area. Once all the players have been through and eaten, it's back to the kitchen to continue preparing for tonight. It's time to fill the pies, top them with pastry, and get them in the oven. The flatbreads arrive warm from the bakery, and our topping of pulled pork is ready to be mixed through our house barbecue sauce. Then the final stretch begins, taking the pies out of the oven, dishing up the fish, and serving the sides and accompaniments. The live stations are always popular, and the queue usually starts forming before we're even ready.
But yeah, you can sort of gauge from that alone, like how important nutrition is, and how in a way this goes against some of these, n- nutritional trainers who try to help people with fat loss when they say, carbs are the enemy and all that sort of stuff. Carbs are so important. Um, let's see if they have a post game. And then even if we go, I can't find it. Yeah, here we go. And this is them literally finishing a rugby match. And again, we look at the volume that they're eating. We've got sushi there. Let me get this. Where's mute? There we go.
Carbohydrates with blood glycogen back into the.
And this quickly sums up what I'm saying about, carbs and that sort of stuff and why it's important, post-training meal to get some carbs on board.
This helps kickstart the recovery process by increasing carbohydrates with blood glycogen back into the body. Lots of protein helps repair sore muscles, and of course, lots of fluids to help with hydration. We do this via sushi, crispy chicken tenders, fruit kebabs, chocolate milk, and bao buns. Quick, tasty, and exactly what's needed after 80 minutes on the pitch. It's important for the players to consume.
And again, so that's what I mean where,
This helps.
hang on, sorry, pause. But that's what I mean when we talk about your nutrition. Do you see that we need to start viewing this in a different way, and that we really want to start focusing on that performance and body recovery rather than trying to follow some diet trends? Now, carbs are going to be so important because that's your body's preferred energy source. Your body will perform better with carbohydrates in your diet. Now, they're not essential. You will be 100% right if you say that, but they are very beneficial because your body will be using it as a fuel source. Then on top of that, protein. I've been raving on about protein for ages, and it is so important that we make sure that we have a good amount of protein in your diet. In terms of the amount of protein that we need, it's going to be slightly different for individuals. Again, drop me a message. I'll give you a personalized protein target, and I can even put it on the app for you if you would like. But it's so important when we talk about protein that we meet you where you are. There's a lot of, generic advice where you say, you need one gram of protein per pound of body weight. Technically, that's good, but if you're struggling to get your protein in, as we are, that might not be the best goal because we might be setting you up to fail by giving you such a high protein target, not telling you how to get up there. And that's where I'm going to come in and help bridge that gap for you. But protein is literally the god of the macronutrients. It helps your body recover. It improves your nails, your hair, and everything in between. Basically, your body will break protein down into amino acids. Amino acids, the building block of your whole body. So it will go to where your body needs to be rebuilt. So after a good training session, your body will need to be rebuilding muscles. So it'll be going into your muscles to help stop that sort of feeling of delayed onset muscle soreness. You know the feeling you get up 2 days after a really heavy leg day, that feeling right there. And protein will help you there. Now, that is, let me double check my notes. Protein important. And that's why it is so important that we focus a lot on your nutrition because we are going to train at a decent level. You are going to be putting in effort in the gym. You are going to be pushing your body. And I want to make sure that our training is there to complement our nutrition, and they both work hand in hand. Because if we just focus on that training and the nutrition is a whirlwind, that is going to really slow down our results. That is going to have a very low glass ceiling, and you are not going to be reaching your full potential if we take that approach. If you guys have any questions around nutrition, I will be doing more sort of modules like this in a little bit more detail, explaining some of the finer points, but this is just a general overview. Drop me a message if you do have any questions, but until then, have a great day, guys. Bye. Bye.